Hello, I hope that you are doing great. In this video, basically what we are going to do is to introduce a form in which basically the user is going to be able to introduce the number of kilometers and the type of fuel that is using in the transport, and we are going to take that information and we are going to work out the transport carbon emissions. Okay, then let's move on. The first thing that you have to do is to create the virtual environment, activate it, and you have to install the requirements. You also to create the data, and that's all. This is the first three things that you have to do: create the virtual environment, activate the requirements, and create the database. Okay. Then I have three files, and we are going to work in these three files. The first file is the form.py that is inside the Carbon app package, and then the first thing that we are going to do is to create the class to place the form basically, and here you have to type class bus form. This is going to be a Flask form, and here we are going to introduce the kilometers. This is going to be float field kilometers, and this is going to be an input. We are going to have an input required. The second field that we are going to have is fuel type. This is going to be a select field. We are going to have here type of fuel, and basically this is also going to be an input required. And the last thing that we are going to have is the choices. That is going to be diesel, that's all. And the last field that we are going to have is a submit. That is going to be a submit field with a label of submit. We save this information. Now we have to go to the routes. The first thing that we have to do is to import this form that we have created right now. The second thing that we have to do is to create the dictionary with the type of transport and the type of fuel. I have it this thing here, and then we have to move down to the new entry route for the bus. The first thing that we have to do is to define the form, bus form. Then if form is validated on submit, form validate on submit, the kilometers is going to be form kilometers data. We are taking the kilometers from the form. We are also taking the fuel, form fuel type data, and the transport is going to be bus. With this information that the user have entered, basically what we are going to do is to work out the transport carbon emissions. Then is CO2 is going to be float kilometers. We multiply this by this this constant that we have in the dictionary. We have transport and we have fuel. We copy because we are going to also to introduce the next emissions, that is the H4. We take that information from this other matrix and we work out the total emissions. It's going to be the sum of the two previous variables. And now we are going to make some transformation of the data because I don't want to have a very long with numbers with a lot of decimals. And then it's floats. We do exactly the same for the other two variables. Also for the total. And the last thing that we have to do is to store this information in the matrix. And emissions is going to be transport. We are going to basically to pass all the information that we have created. And this is transport. We have the kilometers, the type of transport. We also have the fuel. And we have to pass the carbon emissions, the CH4. We have to pass the total. And also the author, that is going to be current user. Now we have to add this information, db session add emissions, and we have to commit db session commit, and once that we commit, we redirect the user to the your data web page. Redirect URL for carbon app your data. Okay, we save this, and the last thing that we have to do is to create the form inside the new entry bus HTML file. Okay, here basically we have create form. Is a method. It's going to be post. And then inside the form, the first thing that we have to do is form srf token. Then here we are going to create a field set with a class of form group. And inside this we are going to create two divs. The first one is for the kilometers div with a class of form group. Here we introduce form kilometers label class form control label, we copy this and we paste it below, and then we have it's not going to be a label anymore, it's only kilometers, and this is form control large. We copy the entire div, and we are going to do exactly the same for the type of fuel. It's going to be fuel type. Then outside the field set, introduce a line break, and we are going to create a div for the submit button, class form group, and here basically what we have to type is form submit, and here we have defined our own class for this button. Is btn carbon app new entry main. This is the name, that the class that we have created for these particular buttons. We save this. Now I go to the terminal and Python we open this, we go to the carbon app, we go to new entry, we type 20, we submit it, and then you have your data. Then basically we have done everything fine. I go like to recap before to finish the video. It's basically we have introduced the form, the first thing that we have done. The second thing is that we have created the route to work out the carbon emissions, and the last thing that we have done is to create the form inside the new entry bus HTML file, okay? And then once that we have go here, we go to the new entry, we go to the carbon app, we go to the bus, we click here, we introduce the number of kilometers, we click submit, and we go to the your data. Okay, this data is stored now in the database, but we didn't disclose it here. This is what we are going to do in the last video, in which we are going to make a query, and here is going to appear the data that we have stored in the database. Okay, this concludes the second video, in which basically we have introduced a form to allow the user to introduce the number of kilometers and the type of fuel, and we have worked out introduce some very basic Python code to take that kilometers and the type of fuel and work out the carbon emissions. I hope that you have enjoyed the video, and see you in the next video.